Call the meeting in order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have an advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Library, the board office, filed with the township clerk, and communicated to the Home News and the Star Ledger. Can I get a roll call, David, please?
Mr. Patrick Del Piano. He's here. Mr. Raymond Keener.
Here.
Dr. Stephen Parker.
Here.
Ms. Joyce Mehta.
Here.
Mr. Devin Patel.
Here.
Mr. Arthur Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Lisa Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti.
Here.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can I get an approval of tonight's agenda, please?
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Parker, second by Mrs. Meadow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Approval of minutes, board minutes of May 4th, 2020, and executive minutes of the same meeting, May 4th, 2020. Can I get a motion, please? Moved by Devin Patel. Do I have a second? Second by Joe Scaletti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before I introduce the superintendent, I just want to take a moment of silence for all the victims that continue to be victims of Corona, all over the country, but especially in New Jersey. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent Scott Feder with his report, please. And Tabitha, you're muted, Scott.
Thank
There
you.
you
Sorry,
go.
before I start, I see that Tabitha's joining us. I'd like to turn over
Yes.
the mic to you, Tabitha. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey, there she is.
One second. Let me just. I don't have much to say, but yeah, I hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy right now. There's just a few things that are going on virtually in the high school. So clubs are completing the end of the year paperwork and elections. So far clubs have reported housing over 730 meetings and have had over 2,000 student members. And we're so proud of what they've accomplished this year. The Chemistry Olympic students entered a combined 12 events on a remote competition, and each of these events, they will receive feedback from volunteers from NJIT, and awards from this year event will be made on Monday, June 15th. ALS sponsored their first fundraiser for Life Skills. The group sold autism awareness shirts, and all the proceeds will help Life Skills offset the cost of their trip. The group worked hard throughout the year during our Friday night events to enrich and enhance our Life Skills students socially. SBHS has elected their student and class council members for the upcoming school year, and we're so proud of everyone and all the amazing virtual campaigns that everyone ran. Yeah, and as Mr. Nathanson said, there's definitely a lot going on in our country right now, and I know that this is continuing to be a very difficult time for a lot of people. But I am proud of the ways that our nation has come together to fight the racial injustice and the racial inequality, especially the youth, people that are my age and people of all ages. But I do hope that we're continuing to stay informed and educated and continuing to reflect and to stand together. But I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and I miss you all. So,
We miss you too, Tabitha. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to share just a brief, it's a very short story of a family that lives in a very local town, not South Brunswick. And basically the story is the family moves into their new town, and right away, while they were, one of the first things that happened is while they were looking at the home they had just purchased, the cop showed up and asked them to produce their closing papers. All they were doing was taking pictures of their new home. Shortly after they moved in, the father was waiting in his car by the school bus, waiting for his daughter to get off the school bus. Cop showed up, asked him what he was doing there, why he was sitting there. This was a black family that moved into a predominantly white neighborhood. Not the only black family, for sure. And I know the neighborhood well. The story that's going on and what's going on in the world, while yes, there's protests about George Floyd, but if it was only so simple as one bad cop doing one bad thing, and that was the only thing that happened, but it's not. It's far greater than that. When a family cannot buy a house without getting questioned by the police, when kids come to schools, our schools, any schools, and feel like they're going to be treated differently in some way, it's enough of this. So what can schools do? I think what Tabitha said is right. We can band together. We can say no more. We can work with our community, with our police officers. We have amazing police officers in South Brunswick, a great partnership with them in South Brunswick. They're in our schools, they're in our community, and we're lucky. We have a great situation here, but it's not a great situation for everybody. And I'm sitting here telling a story that I couldn't even comprehend until I read it. The idea of buying a home and being questioned by the state police because I was taking pictures of a home, and I honestly believe that would never happen to me. I'm white. And that's an important message for us. So yes, when we were asked, why are you hosting or why are you part of a protest? Why would you walk with kids about this? Question is, why would the school district not? Why would we not provide space for our students, our families to congregate, to protest, to march, to be one? So I found a really great, there's so many pictures out there, there's so much out there. And this is one that really resonated with me. And it is a little girl, and she's holding a sign. The sign says, "We said Black Lives Matter. Never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your help because Black lives are in danger." Huge, important message. All the principals have sent home letters speaking to their schools, their staffs, their communities. We have to stay true to our equity commitment in our strategic plan. There's a lot of work to do. We've made good strides. We haven't made enough, not even close. It's a shame it takes a situation of the murder of George Floyd and others to put us back. Why do we have to continuously wait for something to happen like that? We need to not be waiting anymore. So to our whole community, extremely diverse community, yes, all lives matter, of course, but we need to pay attention. So I implore the board, who I know backs this, and our staff and our families, we stick together. On Friday, there's another march led by 2 former South Brunswick students. It's currently being held at 4:30 on Friday. I'm not sure if that's going to change or not, but we'll keep the community posted. But we invite you all to come. It's another opportunity to show that we as a community care about all of our families here. So it's not fun to start like this and focus on these issues, but it's a must. And the more we do it, and the more regularly we do it, and the more we make significant strides in our curriculum and with our students and the insidious nature of what happens, then we'll be making the progress that all of our families deserve. So I challenge us to do it, and let's not wait for any next time. Let's make this the time. And that's where we are. So thank you, Mr. Nathanson, and the rest of the board for letting me start with that. It's important work, and we're committed to it. So with that said, we have this other big thing happening right now. We have this graduation happening, and we have this graduation happening in the middle of COVID-19. And then I get asked the question, why are we allowed to march, but we're not allowed to have a graduation? And I could not agree more. Not that we shouldn't have marched. We should absolutely be allowed to march, but we should absolutely be allowed to have a graduation. I saw the governor walking in front of a march, leading the way. I was proud of him and the message, and proud that we are having marches and we're doing this. But it doesn't have any reason to not allow a graduation. However, at this time, the rules are the rules. We cannot put all of our students at risk, our families and the Board of Education and the district at risk. So what's happening is we met with 4 different groups of families, parents, to speak about graduation. And then the high school met with groups of students about graduation. There were some good themes. It was very interesting. You'll like this theme. One of the themes were the parents, their perspective was, do whatever you can, Mr. Fetter, Mr. Varela. Just let the kids, we won't even come. Parents don't need to be there. Let the kids have this moment. But when Mr. Varela spoke to the kids, they were the polar opposite. Like, a graduation without our parents. What are you, crazy? Why would you do that? That makes no sense. But there was another common theme. Do it now. What you can now. Not waiting till July or August to maybe find out there's better information, maybe not, when 10, 15, 20% of our kids aren't there. And then the question of, do high schoolers want to come back a month and a half after graduation? I don't know. The rule, pretty much, the general theme was, do what you can now, Mr. Varela, Mr. Fetter. Do that. So we have. So today, Mr. Varela shared what the Board of Education knew was coming, and we had big discussions, and it is the most we can do right now. And if things change, we can do a little bit more. Mr. Varela and his team are ready to do a little bit more. But on June 18th, we will hold diploma pickup graduation, or whatever you want to call it. There already is a beautiful virtual graduation going on, and you'll be hearing more about that. But that's going to be another great way to honor all of our graduates on July 22nd, but on June 22nd. But on June 18th, all of our graduates will come to the high school, and they will walk across the stage in front of their parents. And that is what we can do. And we're excited to be able to do it. It's going to be a pretty cool day. Board members, I do warn you, it's going to be a long day. We have 730 graduates, and it's going to be a long day. Even though the plans are to make it manageable, it's going to be a long day. So drink a lot of fluids that morning. If you can't be there the whole day, fully understandable. Mr. Varela's team will be working with you on that. But this is about our graduates and giving them a chance to be honored one last time for all their accomplishments. So exciting to be able to do that. And it's a good thing. It's the most we can do. The high school's already doing other things continuously. And it's a rough time, but our high school graduates are going to get to walk across that stage. So thank you to Mr. Varela and his team. I know that it's been a just incredible time figuring out all of this and managing all the different plans you've put together, trying to get even more, but being completely stunted at this point by the governor's orders. But we very much appreciate, and the board I know appreciated hearing that you'll be able to do this. So thank you again. And we'll keep talking about some other great events that are happening. So I want to share with you, I believe I shared a little bit, and right now I can just share a little bit more. South Brunswick introduced the concept to the Middlesex County of doing a GMC combine for spring athletics that were missed. Don't to give kids a chance to get their talents out there. So if you know anything about the NFL, you know that the NFL has a scouting combine, and what happens is all the players that want to get drafted come to this combine and they run drills and do all these kind of things, and those drills make a big difference. So we're inviting and working with a college promoter, a college fair promoter, to get the word out to our colleges. Elaine McGrath, our athletic director, is taking the lead. And we do have Woodbridge has 3 high schools and 3 large fields. They're going to be the host. We have a lot of districts joining in to give our kids a chance to be seen by colleges. So this is going to be for juniors, possibly bigger than that. They're working on all the specifics. At this point, it's still in design mode. As of right now, you can't even do this, but we're hoping that by opening stores, beaches, boardwalks, hair salons, restaurants, maybe they'll remember that there's kids that need to get out there too, hoping, and that things like graduations or sporting combines could also happen if you can open a beach, if you can open a park. So we're hoping this does get passed and through. I don't have a date. I don't have more information at this time, but it's a really exciting event for our kids that have lost the whole season. They lost the whole season, trying to give them something back, something to look forward to. So kudos to Mrs. McGrath for doing great work on this and working with the other athletic directors and school districts to make something exceptional happen for our kids. It's a great thing. Let me talk about another big deal, right? Big deal. So budget. I actually have good news to report on the budget. I hope I can say that again at another meeting. I'm glad I could even say it at one meeting. If you haven't been following, obviously the states, the country, the world is in financial trouble, right? There's just less money. Less money was generated for revenues. Therefore, the state is reporting over the next year and a half, they'll be down $10 billion. Their first line of cuts were to reduce the funding to schools by $336 million. Scary. Good news is they said, well, we already cut you, so we're not cutting you again. Meaning the budget that was passed in May, as of right now, still holds. I'd love to say that's the end of it. We're good to go. However, if you remember my presentation, we still have some big ticket items. Right now, the conversation, and Dave is working on this with his team, on PPE equipment and supplies and plexiglass and who knows what, is potentially extremely expensive. Extremely. So we don't know what that is yet. Now, I did watch the Senate hearing for education this morning, led by the commissioner and Senator Ruiz, who's the chairperson of the Education Committee for the Senate. And she was great. I would say the Senate was awesome. They were holding the state accountable for making sure every kid has a computer for next year, making sure they have access to the internet, but also saying to the state, you better give answers to these school districts about what they might need to do. I can tell you right now, we can't buy all the stuff we need and get it here by September 1st. We can try, and David's going to try, but I don't think you can. We already heard about, the pumps for that you put on for Purell, like a Purell pump, a large one that you put in a classroom setting. We need, about 1,000 of those, 800 to 1,000 to put one in every room. And I was saying that one of the superintendents in the county was very happy. They found a company that had 40 available. We'll keep trying to figure all this out, but the longer we wait, the harder it means to open in September with any degree. So there's a lot of that. The other unknown, still the revenue loss. How long are we going to be closed for? We don't know. And I'd love to tell you that state aid is over and that's good, but the state has also talked about other things which could have an impact on us at any given point over the summer or after. So we have to be conservative. We can be happy about the first line that we didn't get hit yet and hope it stays that way. But the other only big nugget we have is cost of transportation. Transportation is still a beast. What does it mean? What to do? How to go about it? Who will be transporting? very tricky. And again, the longer we wait, the longer we don't have answers, the more risky it gets of loss of funds is what happens. So we're being conservative, but we're being aggressive on certain things. And that's what I want to lead me into our reentry. So people ask all the time, and I just had a conversation with a lovely one of our students who asks me every week, Mr. Fetter, are we going back to school in September? She's wonderful. She asks me every single week. I finally just got on a Zoom meeting with her and talked to her about it. I don't know the answer to that question. But what I do know is we have to be ready for getting back into those buildings in some way. Maybe not all of our kids, but some way. So we have to determine what that could possibly look like. Today, we started with additional forums with our staff. These forums were about how would you go about doing that? And what does remote learning need to look like? How will we assess kids? And we have more forums coming. And then we have more forums for parents. These forums have been very enjoyable to hear from the parents and get perspective. Extremely important to the district. Not only enjoyable, but really important. We're hearing great things. So I hope to lead more of those or have someone else lead those, but keep hearing from our families about their experiences and what would help them as we go. I expect to be doing that throughout the summer. So families, you'll hear more about that as we build calendars and schedules and focus the topics. But as far as reentry goes, what we've been talking about is we are building an extremely robust remote learning model. That is our main plan. But keep in mind, that does not mean all students will have to be remote. At the same time, we're also building a model of how we can get our students back to school. We don't know how many, we don't know what the rules will be, but we know we have to make an effort in that direction to open our schools as wide of a door as we can and bring our kids back as much as we can. So our general plan, twofold. Build a strong, awesome remote learning model for September. We've been talking about this at our forums. At the same time, figure out how to get kids back in these buildings. I want to do it as soon as September 1st, but you know, as of right now, there's a governor's order you can't. So we don't know that. But there's talk about lifting that. There's been talk about lifting it since May 15th, when the governor issued a committee on summer to give us guidance on the summer. I will say it's June 8th. We have no guidance on the summer yet. At this point, our ESY program is remote. There is no other guidance on summer at all. Not a shred, not a word. So we have no choice but to just go with remote learning for our ESY program. Our summer camps have already been canceled. Summer Institute remains remote because at this point, there is no other option for a school district to make. It is not South Brunswick making a decision. It is every school district in the exact same decision. So that's where we are. I want to say that we had over 1,000 families join us last week in our forums. And probably with kids and graduation, we're probably closer to 1,500 people altogether that we've been talking to. And that is really great to keep having all these families. Our board meetings are more well attended. We're learning about how to do that. I think, don't we have 400 or 500 people signed up for our Parent Academy coming up? Over 400, right? You're on mute too, but over 400 of our families have signed up for that. So we're going to keep talking and keep listening. And I think that's how we'll make the best decisions we can for September. It'll be very transparent. Our families will know what's happening. Our kids will know what's happening. Unfortunately, there's still some things that need some time to work out. During the Senate hearing today, one of the main things that was being talked about and being, very aggressively talked about was making sure that every child has the technology and the access to the internet. And they described there are 90,000 students reported by school districts at this time that do not. 90,000. That's a lot. That's 6-7% of our student population has not had access to a computer or internet since the start of this. In fact, actually, it started off as closer to 200,000. It's gotten down to 90,000. Doesn't sound very acceptable. Wasn't very acceptable to the Senate this morning, if anyone else was listening. So we're a district that we're there, but come September 1st, we will be absolute on day one, every single child, access and technology, and staff having what they need to do everything possible in remote. Yet I'm still hoping not all of our kids are in remote, but we'll be ready for all of our kids to be remote. And the advantage of moving forward in this case is when we come back, having a one-to-one system makes it really cool for kids and their learning experiences over the course of time. So we're making leaps and bounds. We're using what we've learned from this experience. I'll tell you what, I'm going to share one of the things I heard today. One of the cautions from one of our teachers who was sharing today was, hey, just remember, this is kind of working for some kids. We got to remember that, right? This whole remote learning thing is working for some kids. The distractions are gone. Some kids, this is okay for. We have to learn from that experience and how do we then maximize that knowledge, right? So that's all part as we build out and go forward. In order to help us do that, we need more time with our staff. That's why tonight we've asked you to approve the change of the calendar to the last week of school to be early release days, which I know just sounds crazy. What's an early release day versus a non-early release day? But what it does, it frees up our teachers for 4 hours a day to dive into all that is needed for next year. And that's really important for our kids. So, cutting back 2 hours of time in the last week of June is not nearly as valuable as making sure we're really strong when September comes. That was how we kind of approached that. So lots happening. Jen and Blair are working on that with supervisors and administrators and teachers to make sure that's going to be exceptional use of the week. So, we're excited about that. Just a quick notice to the board and everyone listening. Next board meeting on June 22nd, we'll be honoring our retirees virtually. I know we have a really special treat for that. So this whole virtual thing, there's some pretty cool things happening. You're seeing some talent that you might not have realized just how strong the talent was. So you'll be seeing some of that at the retirement as well. I'm going to read this part because it's from the Education Foundation. I should have worn my bike helmet to honor Marty and Bobby. But just picture me right now with a bike helmet and I'm up there but I'm not wearing a bee costume to Bobby. So I'm going to read this from the Education Foundation. The Foundation's annual Tour de South Brunswick Bike Ride and Foundation Fun Walk are virtual. No planned routes, no set paths, no fixed distances, no fees. Just ride your bike, stationary's fine, walk, jog, or run when and where you want from June 15th through August 15th. Then let them know how many miles you've done. The Ed Foundation will total up the miles and see how far we've gone as a community. For more information and to sign up, please visit their website, which is edfoundationsb.org or efsb.org. Always a fun event. Another loss. That's one of our bigger attended events. So, but they're still making it happen. Congratulations to them. Another reminder, please, we need kindergartners. We're still in the 200s. That's not enough. We need more. So please, do what you can. Find kindergartners for us. And my last announcement is just about food distribution. Keep reminding you every 2 weeks. If there's any situation that you need, please reach out to us so we can help you get food for your family. All right, Mr. Nathanson, that is my report.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Is Blair, the next on the agenda says Blair was going to give a HIB report. Is she on?
She is.
Blair should be on.
There she is. She has to unmute herself. There she is.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
All
We're going
right.
to share a screen.
Yes, I will share my screen.
Actually, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Go ahead, Blair.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, members of the board and those tuning in at home. Blair Eisman, Supervisor of Professional Development and District Anti-Bullying Coordinator. I am here to present our biannual report for HIB and our 18-19 self-assessment grades. Am I able to advance, Dave, or you have to?
You just let me know when you want to.
All right. So here's our agenda for tonight. You can see close to the bottom, in addition to our report, we're also going to share some data back to 2011. After my report in the fall, the board requested some numbers from when HIB law and policies first went into place here in district. So I wanted to follow up and be sure to share those with you. So we'll start with the self-assessment grades, just to give a little background information. The Department of Ed requires that each school does complete a self-assessment on HIB policy and programs and trainings. You could go to the next one, Dave. The assessment itself is around these core 8 elements. I'll give you a second just to look those over. So basically, each school has a anti-bullying specialist, their building administrators, and then a school climate team. They come together and go over all the indicators for each element and score themselves accordingly. And they know that they have to have evidence to back up whatever score it is that they give themselves in these areas. We submit them to the Department of Ed, and this past week, they actually released our 18-19 scores to share with the public. So that's what we're gonna look at now. So here are the first 5 schools in our district. You can see going left to right, individual scores for each of the core elements. And then the very last column at the right is a total score. The highest score that anyone could receive is a 78. So you could see Brooks Crossing, Brunswick Acres, Cambridge, Constable, Greenbrook. And then our next slide, we have our other 5 schools. Same thing, individual scores for each core element, and then the final score at the end. The district average is a combination of all 10, which is a 77. So at the district, we scored a 77 out of 78 in regards to our HIB programs, our policies, our trainings, our curriculum and instruction, and so on and so forth. So we feel very proud of the work I think that we do. Our anti-bullying specialists deserve a lot of kudos, along with admin and staff working to be proactive in the name of HIB. So now we will do our biannual report. So just keep in mind that we're always reporting for the period prior. So the numbers that I share with you now are going to be from July of 2019 to December of 2019. So you could see here on this table, I broke down for you the total number of investigations, and then of those investigations, how many were found to actually be an act of HIB. So as a district, we had 14 investigations between July and December, and of those 14, 4 were found to be HIB. And then you could see the breakdown at the elementary, middle, and high. So one piece to the puzzle when determining whether or not an incident is HIB is there has to be a violation of a protected characteristic. So just wanted to remind you what these characteristics are. And that last bullet, any other distinguishing characteristic, very often it's weight, clothing. We've had instances of skin condition, hair. So really there's a large amount that could fall into that any other category. So I also broke down the numbers for you of the protected categories of the confirmed HIB. So keep in mind that was only 4 for this reporting period. So at the elementary level, the confirmed HIB, the violated characteristic was race. At the high, it was other, gender, and disability. And although there were only 3 confirmed high school cases, we see 4 total protected categories, and that's because one investigation violated 2 categories. So these are the numbers I was mentioning that were requested last time that I shared out. So I took the numbers from 2011 when HIB first came into play and broke it down by elementary and middle and high. So you could see that the total investigations are blue and the confirmed are orange. So as you can see in 2011, our numbers were really high. We actually had 88 total investigations our first year, and that makes sense. It was new, everyone was learning. And then you could see through the years at elementary, stayed pretty consistent, dipping a little low in 2013, 2014, and this past year, 2019, only 1 confirmed at the elementary. Then you could see the same for middle, definitely staggered at the middle. And then high school. Numbers have always been higher at the high school. I think it's typical for the age, unfortunately. But again, you could see these confirmed cases are staggered as well. Very high in 2011, dip in 2015, and have kind of been inconsistent throughout the years. And then this is the district total. This was hard to find a graph that shows this much information, but basically the protected characteristic by year, at the top where you see other, that long blue line, that is 2011. So that first year where we had so many investigations, there were 14 that fit under the other category. As always, we work to be proactive and try to prevent as many instances of HIB as possible. This chart just highlights many of the trainings and programs that are done across the district. I think a highlight this year is at the elementary level. All staff members, including administrators, were retrained in responsive classroom, which is a proactive approach that focuses on the social and emotional well-being and education of students. And at the high school, same thing, staff were trained in restorative practices, which focuses on the learning from the behavior and fixing relationships rather than punishment. So I think those were two highlights during this past reporting period. Then these are some things done across all levels. We always have mandated policy training with staff as well as HIB policy review. Our ABSs come together throughout the year for job alikes, social media symposium, always our school expectations, school safety, and then week of respect and violence and vandalism. So again, lots of kudos and shout outs to our anti-bullying specialists for their work. And I've listed them here for you, as well as where on the district you can find anti-bullying information. And that is it for our board brief, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Blair. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Is there any questions? So guys, you gotta speak up. Because of the view, I can't see.
Arthur, President.
Arthur, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Thanks, Blair, for the report and, just with at the numbers. I have a general question. When a student comes in the district, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, what's the mechanism that we use in terms, is it like give the student handbook? How do we acclimate someone to the requirements of HIB coming from the outside, from another district, which they should have had it. But, if you could expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Like you said, most likely what district they came from, they definitely have had some exposure. But our anti-bullying specialists do a really nice job in terms of helping students get acclimated. So yes, there's a handbook at various levels. I know at the elementary, a lot of times they will pull new students for kind of like a lunch bunch with some other kids to help get them acclimated. But all students also receive information on anti-bullying through the lessons and curriculum that counselors and our ABSs do.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Arthur. Devin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So thank you, Blair, for this nice report. And good to see that numbers are going down, so that you guys are working very hard at it. So question is, I know that last few months we did go on virtual. So question prior to that, do we have any cases that anything happened like online and social media, and then we do monitor those cases, right? And we do investigate those cases.
We do. We haven't had any, but we do. If there were to be a report filed, we would investigate the way that we did. We actually did have an investigation that started before we went remote and had to be finished up remote. But we have not had any reports or investigations once we were officially remote.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Just let me add to that a little bit. We have received recently some information regarding racial issues. That all has stemmed 5 or 6 in the middle high school. So our teams are looking into those to see if they are HIB, even to start investigations. No investigations have been started, but information has come to us. So it's not surprising at the time, but we look at each one carefully, speak with the people, and then the high school or the middle school team makes a decision on, is it even something to move forward with, or just information that's valuable for us to know.
Right. And once they decide, that's when I get contacted. So I don't get notified until an investigation is starting.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Blair. I appreciate your report.
You're very welcome. Nice to see you all.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you, Blair.
Thanks, Blair.
David, you want to switch us out and take
Sure do.
her report off? Thank you. Okay, moving along, we're going to open it up to the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of are you done, by the way, Scott, before I do that?
I'm done. I was done already. You already left.
Okay. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting, you can obtain those an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond, if necessary, to questions or comments in the most timely and effective manner available. Please consider not repeating comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask that you state your name, place of residence, or your group affiliation. David, do we have anyone that signed up to speak this evening?
We don't have any pre-registrations at this time, and as of right now, I don't see anybody waiving to talk with regards to public comment.
Okay.
David, wait, before you go, can you just explain what someone would have to do to make sure we're not missing someone who's trying?
If anybody who wants to do a public comment, there's a little wave button at the bottom. All you'd have to, or at the side of your screen, all you'd have to do is click on that little blue drop down and, oh, we got one. Deborah Frey. Nope, she dropped out.
Come on, Debbie.
Debbie, do you want to talk?
There's only 40 people online, correct?
We have 27 people logged in right now as attendees to the system.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Okay, the next portion, next part of the meeting is board committee reports. Devin, I believe you're the last committee that met. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. President. So that was a curriculum committee meeting, and attendees were my colleague Lisa Rogers, Joyce Mehta, Mr. Manathanson, and was all arranged by Ms. Desler, Jennifer Desler, and Scott Feder and David Pulaski was in also attendance. So this was a continuing conversation from prior committee meeting about equity changes to programming for the future. So that we already, there are a few changes that coming up soon. So we'll, it's not coming up, not right away, but soon eventually. So we'll be educating all the parents of the community throughout the Parent Academy or through the forums, regular forums. So those are the discussion we had. And this minutes are also posted on a portal. So if you want to see those, I think you'd all seen that, and I did not receive any question. I'm not sure, Ms. Dazzler, did you receive any questions? No. So looks good. So that, and still you can still go ahead and look at it, those comments at the portal. But that's about it, Mr. Nathan.
Thank you. Any other committees? I don't believe there were anyone else met. Okay. Thank you. Moving along. Approval of tonight's consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please? Moved by Devin Patel. I have a second. Second by Ray Keener. Can I get a roll call, David, please?
Yeah, before we do a roll call, can I just, I want to talk real quick about a motion that is not on your agenda, but I would like to add, based on a conversation I had with Scott today. I was invited today to talk with the one-to-one initiative group, and they talked to me about some different ways that they were looking to finance some of the purchases that were necessary for one-to-one initiatives, so that if we do end up in a one-to-one environment next year, we need to purchase some technology equipment. Upon my conversation with this group and talking with Scott, we could do some lease purchasing to purchase some of this technology, which would be a benefit to our budget, the way we see it as of right now. What I would ask of the group tonight, of the board, is a motion to utilize the Hunterdon County Education Services Commission's bid process for technology purchases to assist and support the one-to-one initiative for the 2021 school year. If we could do that in conjunction with our consent agenda tonight, that would be very beneficial. And it's just an opportunity to utilize the bid process. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go through with purchasing with this this commission, but they have a really wonderful bid process for the lease purchase process. We use them for all of our buses. We use them for our textbooks. They do a lot of the work for us, and they get us really, really awesome prices right through U.S. Bank Corp. They put it out to bid for any bank. We have a few with Bank of America and a few with U.S. Bank. Questions? Go ahead, Pete.
Steve, yeah.
No, I would just say I would move to amend the consent agenda with this additional motion.
I have a second, or Ray, you have a question?
They don't have anything that was pre-bid. Sometimes they do a pre-bid. There's nothing already established. This would just be a new bid.
It's a new bid for us specifically, yes.
Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just a little confused as to the involvement of Hunterdon County on this.
Every county has an educational services commission. Hunterdon County, throughout the state of New Jersey, Hunterdon County is known for their bidding process for lease purchases. We do all of our bus leasing through Hunterdon County Educational Services Commission. It's just another commission that's in the state of New Jersey that, like I said, every county has one. They always end up with some really, really good pricing.
So Middlesex County, for example, has one, but you feel that it's more beneficial.
They don't focus on lease purchases like Hunterdon County Ed Services does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll let David's correct. Hunterdon has a great reputation as far as their ESC and their co-op pricings. ESC of New Jersey does great on other things, but as far as this is concerned, Hunterdon really is a great.
You know Dennis, right, Ray?
Yes.
Yes, he's a great guy.
Thank you.
Ray, can I get a second then?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Steve, second by Ray Keener, and that we're going to amend the consent agenda to include what David just spoke of.
Perfect.
So so it's been moved in second, so we need a roll call, David.
You got it.
The question, is this the roll call on the amendment or the roll call on the agenda?
The amended agenda.
You need a motion to amend the agenda. You need a vote to accept the amendment.
You're
That
correct.
could probably be a
This will be
voice
the
vote.
vote. This is the vote. to-
Okay,
David, you
all,
froze.
let's do it this way. All in favor of amending the agenda, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? No one's opposed, so the agenda's amended. David, can you now do the amended agenda, please? Roll
Yes,
call?
we'll do a roll call vote to pass the agenda.
Correct.
Consent agenda. Patrick Del Piano. Say
Pat.
yes, Pat.
Hello? Say yes.
I can't hear you.
Roll call
Say
vote
yes.
to.
Say
okay.
yes. Thumbs up,
You
something.
can't.
Raymond Keener.
Yes, except I abstained from item 2.1D as it pertains to the Secretary's Union.
Understood. Mrs. Joyce Mehta.
She raised her hand.
I said yes. Dr. Stephen Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Devin Patel.
Aye.
Mr. Arthur Robinson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti.
Yes.
And Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes.
Consent agenda carries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let you know how we do with Hunterdon County Ed Services.
Okay, the next part of the agenda is board comments and communications. Anyone interested in speaking? Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First, I want to thank Blair for providing the update and the history of the program. It's wonderful to see, and I just was wondering if it will be posted, the actual chart of the history, online. So I'll just leave that out there. Also, I happened to attend the Senior Awards online. I don't know if anyone else had an opportunity to do so, but it was wonderful. And I actually got chills. It was a wonderful way to celebrate the seniors who received awards this year. And I just want to commend the administration for doing a really nice job. So I really look forward to all the other online programs that you're going to be doing. So thank you.
I'm muted. Okay, any other comments? Just one comment myself, and I don't know if the board or the members of the public saw it, but the Ray Hay Duker, our chief of police, put out a statement today, and I urge the board to take a look at it. It's on Nixle. It's been posted all over Facebook too. It was a really amazing comments that he made, and it's online to what Scott said in the beginning of the meeting, and also has issued his own comments. So I want to thank the chief, and I think we continue to be extremely good partners with the South Brunswick Police Department. That being said, we are not having, again, a reminder, we are not having an executive session. So can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Scaletti, second by Mrs. Meadow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Good night, South Brunswick. Please stay safe, everyone. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.